getting everything ready for wheat. There's our good old Fendt IDEAL 9. We'll have a lot of work to do this year. What's up, guys? Welcome out this morning. This is the cellar that had all the rotten potatoes in it. And we're gonna go see how destroyed the floor is. Right here we have all the vents that they've pulled out. You can kind of see, you can see how nasty it was. These vents are just black inside. All this black sludge, rotten potatoes. All of our pipe movers, since all of our wheat is turned off, we have all of our pipe movers down here helping to get all the vents out. And we're trying to get this cellar cleaned out because we have kind of ruined the floor. You can see there's a groove right here where we were scraping. It's really low in the middle, and we're gonna have to scrape out all this. There's still a bunch of slop and sludge back in here. But we have the back door open and trying to get it all. It actually doesn't, it does stink, but it doesn't smell too bad in here anymore. But yeah, it's not looking good. It's better than the last time we had rot in our cellar last year. We had, because we hauled them out with our loader, and it made huge trenches in the cellar. But with this one, we just have some scraper marks. We've taken some of the dirt out. There's actually a pile of dirt right there. That's all dirt that we scraped out with slop and stuff in it. But that's all part of the floor that we scraped out. So we have a guy, he's coming later today to look at it, and he redoes cellar floors. And he's the one that came and redid our other one when we messed it up with the loader and getting everything hauled out. But he's gonna come and he's gonna have to bring in a whole bunch of dirt, and then he has a skid steer with all the different attachments. He'll rip the floor up, and then he has a little compactor, and he'll compact it and level it, get it all looking brand new, and then it will be ready to put potatoes in come this fall when we start harvest. But it costs a lot of money to have these floors redone, so that's just another expense we have when potatoes go rotten. But we have all these lovely vents. Luckily, because we didn't take them out with the loader, we didn't destroy the vents.
We are gonna get a vent stretcher. We can put that on a video too, where it's kind of its own self-contained thing with a motor and a hydraulic pump that lifts up, and it will stretch, kind of stretch and make the vent pipe all the same round again.
Yeah, so it's just the ones like this one where it's been smashed, but it's not bad. The stretcher will just pop that back open. Now, when we took them out with our loader last year, there was nothing left to stretch. It just crushed them and ripped them all apart because we had to pull them out with our loader. Luckily this year, they were still able to get in and use the scooper to get them out, so they didn't destroy very many pipe. I think we can straighten all of them. I don't know that there's any that are completely destroyed. But yeah, last year we had to replace all the vent pipe in our entire cellar. But for now, they're just getting the pipe out, and then we have our little scraper tractor right over there, and we'll get these guys they'll get the rest of it all scraped out and fixed. And yeah, we'll have the guy come, and we'll probably show you that when he gets to that point of scraping and ripping up the floor, and kind of show you how he does that. But that's not going to be for a little while, maybe next week, I don't know. So, but what it should look like is this cellar. So this is the other cellar on the other side where we had no rot. It is all nice and flat. All the vents are stacked up nice and clean. But since we are switching from that processor to Driscoll's, which is a fresh shed, they already have us on, we haven't even harvested, they already have us on a schedule of when they're gonna take them out. So they already know our last potato cellar will be taken out in May. And we have 2 potato cellars with refrigeration, so taking them out in May is fine. It's like, we have currently 3 potato cellars that are still full of potatoes, and it's almost August. So getting them out by May would be great. But these guys are awesome. They do a great job. They're good hard workers. Done hauling the pipe out, but you forget how many pipe are in a cellar. You have this pile and that pile, and then there's another pile on the other side of that. There's a lot of pipe in these cellars. The scooper driver, they really wanted us to just come use our loader and scoop them out, but we would have destroyed all the pipe, which to replace all the pipes about $30,000-$40,000, and we would have destroyed the floor even more than we did, and that would have been another $20,000. So yeah, by not destroying all the pipe and not really destroying the floor too much, saved us a lot of money. But we'll get this scraped, they'll get this all scraped out here once they're done, and we'll just leave this open, let it air out a little bit, bring new dirt in. You won't even know that it had rotten potatoes in it when it's all done. So all of our pipe movers, they're gonna finish up all those pipe. We have some hand lines to go run. I'm gonna take Trevor and Josh with me because I'm turning 2 of these fields over to them. Now that their wheat fields are all off and done, I'm gonna turn some of these potato fields over to them, which will free up a little bit more time for me and make me a little bit less stressed. So I'm gonna take them and go show them how these run and what the watering schedule is. And then we have some beaters to put on. That truck right there needs the manure spreader beaters put on it, so we can start hauling manure once we get some of the wheat cut off. Well, we were on our way out, but then Christopher decided he wanted to try and run us over, so we got our combine out the other day. These guys got the header taken out of storage, and we're getting everything ready for wheat. There's our good old Fendt IDEAL 9. It'll have a lot of work to do this year. We have just over 1,600 acres of wheat this year. So we're out here to the first pivot that we're working with. So these watered over yesterday, and now we have to walk them back dry to the other side so that when we start them the next time, they'll be starting on the dry side and not on the wet side. Okay, I just flipped it all to reverse. So this should be walking back slowly to this other side. This side is more sandy anyway, so we do want to start it over here. Now we got to go do the other pivot and then the next field. Now for this pivot, it needs to walk back dry as well. So open this up, pump off. Now we can't run them at 100%, so I put it at 80%. Let's see, I need to go reverse. There. Now that pivot will walk back to the dry side and shut off, but at the same time we need to go open the hand lines over here and get the hand lines going. Just gotta turn this valve and open it up. I don't like these valves as much as butterfly valves because it just takes longer to open them. Okay, now we can go start the pump. So this we just set, this is the time clock. So this is what the hand lines run on. So you set how many hours you want between this little arrow here and this little peg. You set how many hours, and once this peg comes down to this arrow, it flips this little switch and shuts the pump off. And so it can kind of manually water the hand lines, but it's going. Our little fertilizer pump is pumping on the K, or I think it's phosphate, but it's pumping. Pivot's walking back, hand lines are turning on. Let's head to the next field. There's all the hand lines turning on. The only thing we have to really watch for is a blowout, but this late in the year, they're all hooked pretty tight and there shouldn't be any blowouts. It looks like they're all pressurized, no blowouts, so we're good. Okay, we're out here at the next field. We have to turn some solid set on this field too, but we also need to turn these 3 pivots on this field to walk back dry. Just have to open up this riser little ways. That will turn on this little solid set that we have along the end of this field. So we are setting these. Now I'm just gonna do 80% because last time at 100% they didn't quite make it. They tripped off for some reason. Even the big one did. So they're just running dry. They're not running with the pump.
Which one is that?
That is the south pivot. It says south on the front of it, so you know. So now you have
it
to
automatically switches the direction for you at the barrier.
So you have to shut off. So unplug that and plug it into that cord. And then this one, speed 80. And then start. Let's see.
Time clock.
Reverse. I need it auto stop. There. So that should auto reverse back to the other side, to the dry side, and then we can start it up tomorrow. Yeah, so this, you flip the switch to hand over there, and then you flip the time clock, and then if you just pull this out, so you don't have to change that, just keep that tight. So if you just pull this out, you just rotate it. So we have 2, 4, 6, so we need to go about right there, and it'll shut off. And we have fertilizer pumping, so all the hand lines should get fertilizer as well. So we're done here. This field has a nice little sunflower patch. There's a couple that are starting to open up. There's a big one out there.
It's all Christopher's fault.
Yeah, Christopher, I think, planted these when he was chewing on sunflower seeds when he was planting potatoes. All right, I just dropped those guys off at the shop. They're gonna start working on the manure spreader, and we just had a new boom chain delivered for our potato harvester because last harvest, our harvester, the very last day we were headed back from the field, finished all the potatoes, and a car did not get out of the way and hit our harvester boom chain. It peeled the roof off the car. So luckily nobody was seriously injured. That could have been really bad, but we just barely got a new boom chain for the harvester, so they're unloading that too. But I'll go start. I have to start some hand lines, and then I have to check 2 pivots, and then we'll head back to the shop and see what we can get done.
So I got to get this drive line and gearbox up through that little hole in the back and hooked up to that drive line so the beaters will work. Let's see if we can get it through this hole. It's not the lightest thing. Oh, I got it in there. Oh. I got it in there. You got some bolt holes to put in. Should be able to take that drive line and hook it straight back up to that one. And then hook the chain up and be ready to go. I got the gearbox back in. Trevor's got the bearings on and the sprockets. I got the bolts, top and bottom, and the drive line hooked up. We're ready to spread poo.
Well, Josh and I have started working on this truck. We tried pulling the bearing off, it wouldn't pull it. It's seized on there, so we're cutting it out so we can get the shaft out, because the little cogs here are welded to that shaft, so you can't get the shaft out with that bearing on. The other bearing on the inside is broke. We did get that truck working finally. It had a broken wire, so the door wouldn't go down. It'd go up, but it wouldn't go down. But now we're good on that one. Well, we got the block off now. Now we just got to cut the race off. And then take a break while this cools off so we can then make a plan to try to get that out without cutting another giant hole in the bed. Well, we can't get it in, so we're going to farmerize and cut a hole. That's how farmers do it.
So I'm out here. I have to shut the pivot off and turn the hand lines on. But because it all runs off the same system in the same ditch, I have to do it very strategically so the pump never really shuts off. It just kind of switches from one to the other. So first thing I have to do is I have to switch this from auto to hand while pushing the start button. And I probably can't do this with one hand, but I need to switch this, and that'll switch it to hand. That way I can go out to the pivot, shut the pivot off, and it won't shut the pump off. So ideally, that is what happens. All right, let's do this. Gotta hold this, flip it. There we go. So it just shut off for a millisecond, stayed running. Now I can go shut that off. I also need to open up this little hand line right here. Let's turn this on. That will turn on the solid set that runs on this corner. Now I have to drive through this. And it looks solid. Like there's dirt sticking out. That's dry. And it looks good. But that is like 3 feet deep. As soon as I hit that, it's all gonna just wash out, and I'm gonna just plow through there, and hopefully I don't get stuck. Well, I'm glad I made it. Every time we go through there, it gets a little bit harder the next time because it just gets a little deeper and a little deeper. Because that's also right where the pivot goes through and drives. So the pivot also makes it deeper and deeper every time. So one of these days we're gonna get stuck. So far that has not happened. Just have to open up this valve. Oh, it's a little muddy. Open sesame. And then turn the pivot off. And close this valve. There we go. The hand lines should now be on. It'll take a minute for them to pressurize though. But not too bad. Now I have one more field to go check. I have to turn the ditch down for this next one. I'll show you why, but there's a whole bunch of threads here. So I need to count. I think I need to close it a few inches on this head gate. So I'll get this done and I'll go show you why. So this is my pond, and my pump is the further one. And then there's another pump right here that goes to, so this is my field. Across the road here, there's a hay field. So that's where the other one comes from. And then right here is a little head gate that goes down the rest of the ditch, clear down to the corner. So we have 2 people watering out of here, but then once a week, the guy at the corner wants to water his lawn. So he opens up the ditch all the way and runs full flow down to the end so he can water his lawn. and then he just comes and just puts his little check in when he's done. And you can see this isn't a pond. This is actually the corner of my field. Now we have a little berm because the pivot doesn't reach right here, so we have a berm that goes along right here. So this is kind of an overflow area, but the overflow area is just about full. We don't want it to actually overflow into the field from the overflow area, so that's why I turned the ditch down. There's a little tiny pipe right there sticking out of the water, and usually you want to see about a foot of that, and I can only see a couple of inches. That lets me know that the pond is too full. So I turned it down. I need to go out to the pivot center and check how much this pivot's putting down because I can't remember because I didn't start this one. But it's done 2 revs this last week, so I need to go dig in front of it and see how wet the potatoes are. But before I go to the pivot center, there's something I want to check. I planted some pumpkins. Look at that. I've got vine all over the place. I've got some flowers now, which means I'm gonna have some pumpkins. There's a whole bunch of flowers. Which means I'm gonna have a whole bunch of pumpkins. Now, I know nothing about pumpkins, so if there's something I should be doing, like I've heard you should pluck some of the flowers or something, I don't even know. To not get as big of ones or to get bigger ones, I don't really know. This is my first time ever growing pumpkins. So if there's something I should be doing to these pumpkins, somebody let me know down in the comments. But they are growing really nicely out here. They apparently love the same conditions as potatoes. So we're gonna have some pumpkins this year. I'm excited. Let's go check the pivot. So it looks like we're putting down 1/2 inch. Pivot's going around. Looking good. Now normally I could drive around to the end and dig in front of the end tower, but I think I'm just gonna walk out here a little bit and dig, because how wet the ones are in here should be the same as how wet the ones are out there. All right, I just dug this plant up. So on one of the potatoes, it looks like the lenticels, which are these little white dots on here, which are essentially the potato's mouth. They're there, but they're small. Looks like they're shrinking back down. And then if I grab a handful of the dirt, I can make a ball, but it's not like super sticky or anything. So I think that's just about the right moisture. So I'm not gonna stop watering. I'm just gonna keep sending it around. I did 2 revs. I dig to see how it's doing. If it was too wet, I would leave it off for a day and then continue, but this looks about the right moisture. So I'm gonna bury this back up and we'll just let this one continue to go. All right, let's head back to the shop, see if they've got the beaters on. They probably have, because it doesn't take too long to do that. Well, looks like they pretty well got it on. You got it, did you?
What are you doing now? I put the top
part of the
on.
block is picture. So he's got the big part to the
I'm going
back,
home.
and the bottom is a big part to the front. I'm like, it's supposed to be sitting flush, and it's not.
I'm going freaking home.
Trevor's struggling today.
Third time's
I
the
am
charm.
struggling today, I will admit it.
Oh, but we did finally get it. It's a pain in the butt. It'll be nice to not take these beaters off, because just lining up, I mean, it took forever just to line up the mesh cogs underneath.
Yeah, that takes a while. Underneath here, just on 2 of our trucks, you might be able to see it. So there's that little joint right there, and there's like fingers that stick out on both sides, and they have to line and mesh right up.
I need all the freaking nuts and washers up your mouth.
There's a
But
tense factor that's
because we've been baling all of our hay instead of doing silage, we'll just leave these beaters on, and we won't need these for silage anymore. So these can just stay manure trucks. So it'll be nice not to have to take the beaters on and off all the time. Now, if we could just make it so there wasn't twine in the manure that wrapped everything up, that would be great.
we have
And
ideas.
concrete.
We have ideas on how we can eliminate that.
Yeah,
I don't know how soon they'll be realized.
there's lots of plans, but it involves the dairy, and we don't own the dairy, so they have to approve of the plans.
Basically, we gotta make it as big enough of a pain for them that they will just do what they need to do.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so to put these beaters on, there's some cogs on the bottom that have to line up, and then you have to set the top. There's a little like saddle sits in, and then it swings in and lines up with those cogs, and there's a bolt right here that goes in. So it's not too bad. So hopefully we don't have to take these off. We've taken the lower beater off. There was a third beater. We've taken those off of most of the trucks, so that's less work. But yeah, these beaters are just kind of a pain in the butt. Man, going through all that mud sure makes this thing dirty. Got to get this thing ready for harvest. We're just going over a few things. They did have it most of the winter, and they changed and serviced a whole bunch of stuff. They fixed the little vibration that it had up in the front. Man, these things are complicated. This big Fendt IDEAL 9, there was one day last year that we harvested like 275 acres in one day with one combine and one grain cart. But if you guys have liked today's video, and if you want to watch more of this thing running, because it's going to be running pretty soon, and we're going to make a whole bunch of videos about it, make sure to go down below and hit subscribe. I love you. I'll see you in the next one.